guys of the Real Talk podcast. I am your host, Shane, and my co-host,
George from Flex Success.
George from Flex Success. Look, guys, we are the Real Talk podcast. We talk about real shit, evidential shit. We get down in the nitty-gritty of stuff. We like to try and give you those answer those questions, those taboo questions that you might not be too keen to ask someone. We're here for you. This is what we want to do. We're all about. We are physique coaches. I do dive into the Gen Pop space as well, but we love bodybuilding. We are bodybuilders. We live and breathe this shit. This is what we're here for. In this episode, this is a bit of a different one. We are recording this for the second time because we tried doing it last night and it was a fucking shit show. So we're going for fucking take two. I'm here in the sunny Mackay at the moment. Loving life here in a motel room. George is in the UK. George,
ready for winter.
You're in winter there, but do you miss Australia, mate?
You've asked me a pretty deep question there, Shane. You didn't know this, but you just asked me a pretty deep one. I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and it's been at the front of my brain, causing me a lot of goddamn stress. Australia changed my view on some long-term goals for me.
Yep.
I'm still on the fence of like potentially ever seeing Oz as like a permanent move. I don't know if I could, just on the grounds of commitments here in the UK, family and stuff like that. Like, I was brought up in quite a family-orientated space, and my brother and his kids, niece and nephew, are quite a high priority for me. And I wouldn't feel good in myself if I wasn't present for them growing up.
I've had family's important, man.
Adult auntie and uncles through life that I don't even fucking know or talk to, and I don't have that relationship with these kids. Like, they're like part of my world, realistically. Me and Zoe don't have like massive aspirations to have a family anytime soon, or if we ever do, we don't know. But they're like part of my life that's quite important. So for me, being, a whole day's travel away, not be able to just, 2 hours in the car, go down and see him, it's a bit of a commitment. But I am working on it because I would like to do at least 3 months of the year if I could. Every year, that would be fucking awesome.
Nice.
The more I've reflected on it, I think for me, Gold Coast would have to be the way, because Melbourne, like Sydney, I've got London, and I've got a lot more here in London. And like Melbourne's basically the same goddamn weather anyway, so it'd be like home from home. So Melbourne doesn't tempt me. It's cool. It's a really cool place, and I've got great like connections down there, friends and stuff. That'd be great to see them, but for living, maybe not. Sydney, boring as hell. No, don't want to go there. It's just a work city, man. That's what it is. So it's not really my cup of tea. But Brisbane was good. Great gyms, again, great connection to people. But Goldie was just like, that's the good bit of London taken out and just plopped on a coastline in the beach. You can deal with the Essex kind of people. Like, that's like what I call Aussie Essex. Like, the people are a little bit like that, a bit vain, shall we say? But It's a fucking awesome place. Great people down there. Awesome weather. So, yeah, I think Oz has got a bit of a special place in my heart, mate. And if there's a part of me, I'd love to just fuck off and come out there, mate. I would. If I was just me, myself, and I, being this typical selfish George, I'd just up and fucking run.
Well, I think it's like Flex Success has built itself such a good reputation as being a strong brand in the bodybuilding scene that, you're a UK based coach, but you don't have any UK clients, do you?
Nah,
they're all in Australia, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I'd say all in Australia. I say 75% are Australian, then there's a few dotted like America, Asia kind of way. But yeah, it's just Australian dominant, man. The whole point of me coming to Flex was to hopefully kind of open up a bit of a doorway into the UK market. But I mean, again, just the sheer amount of, I guess it's a good thing, obviously, that they are so popular in Australia. It just meant that my client load just meant handling the stress, I guess, of Oz.
It'll be interesting to see what happens to, like, obviously Flex Success, people like myself, with the extra season in 2024 next year.
That's taken some good planning, because I was coming out for season B originally, October 2024. We can just do it again because I loved it. Now it's going to be season C in September, which is definitely better for me anyway on the timeline, but it's so much more opportunity to compete. I often wonder, like, I see a similar thing for the UK happening in Oz now, where we'll have pro qualifiers coming up, or sorry, not pro qualifiers. We'll have state shows that qualify you for the pro qualifier, and you'll see athletes turn up like 6 weeks out conditioned, but haven't done a peak, just cruising, just tick off the box that I've competed, paid the money, so I can go do the pro qualifier, and that's the one they're prepping for. So it often changes like the pool of competition at some of these shows. So like, I feel like season B now in the middle of the year, it'll be interesting to see if it does go that direction where you're seeing people just getting that placement for the nationals at season C, sorry, at the end of the year, or whether people do take it more seriously. Be interesting to see if that does change. It does change. And again, like, are people going to keep competing with the nationals at the end of the year for their pro card when they can do a qualifier in the middle of the year, then maybe go abroad for another qualifier? Like, is it going to change what we see happen in Oz now by doing this?
Well, mate, it's opened my eyes a bit. Because one of my tick offs, like one of my what do you call it again? Those life goals, bucket list things, was to compete overseas somewhere, and then I call myself an international competitor, right? Just give myself that sticker. And with this way it's opening up, is potentially coming over to UK, doing something over there. That's where it's changed my thought process a little bit. So not that I want to do season B, because I could do season B just coming, like 6 weeks out of condition and just get on stage, not even fucking shave, who gives a shit, sort of thing. And then had that qualification for the NPC and be able to go fucking anywhere. So it's changing my thought process a little bit. I have had a client contact me already. It was literally minutes after Mr. fucking Doherty, he put up his post, and it's changed his thoughts. So he wants to do B season next year and just do it for the feedback and see the condition that he comes in, because he's been with me for 2 years now. He's put on quite a lot of size. And when I say that, like, he's just topping at about 98 kilos now, and he's a men's physique competitor. And
good.
Yeah, he's a bit fluffy at the moment, but that's why we've been pushing him at the moment. We've been pushing that for a little bit. But, get on stage, get the condition up on points, get the feedback, and then look at doing something in 25.
This is the thing, though. Does it, like I said, like, it could maybe be a negative, like we said, that maybe some people are turn up not where they needed to be just to get the qualification. But also, is it going to now potentially open up a better opportunity for the athletes that are closer to that top limit? You might see a separation here where some of the amateurs that maybe first timers or amateurs coming up that maybe aren't as close to that striking distance of winning comps, and with the pool of athletes being so good in Oz, top call outs are usually very good standard. Is this now going to change it where we see more of the amateurs that aren't quite in that top tier of amateur bodybuilding compete season B in the middle of the year, where there's no like pressure for trying to get your pro card and like the nationals at the end of it, or anything like that? And are we then going to see a separation here where some of the top end tier 1 amateur athletes are now waiting for season A and season C for the pro qualifiers? Now we get like this nice pool in the middle of a better level playing field, so we got more of the intermediate athletes competing on the same stage to try and get their pro qualification, and then maybe some of these coming up first timers and bodybuilders that aren't quite as experienced doing this show with a bit less pressure. And again, the pool of athletes might change and be a little bit different. It's all hypothetical, I'm thinking here, but it opens up a door for opportunity for it to be both a positive and also a slight negative to the quality of competitions. But it could be a net positive in the run of taking a big squad of first timers or younger amateurs in season B that all do really well. They get a lot of good motivation because they're not going up against these guys that are chasing pro cards that are absolutely wiping the floor with them. It could be a big positive in that respect.
Did you hear the guest poser they're having as well?
I didn't, but I had the same thing quickly that you had. The minute season C was announced by Tony, I had about 6 messages from people going, "Oi, this is sick. Let's do this timeline." I'm sat here going, that's 30 weeks away, right? It's 30 weeks away in your peak off season. Are you dumb? No.
Yeah. Yeah, we need time to grow.
Yeah,
so I can't pronounce his name. Rebel Mosquera. So that Neckzilla, they call him?
Oh, mate, yeah, Neckzilla. Fucking hell, you got him guest posing.
Yeah, so he's going to be at all 3 seasons. So like, he just won the New York Pro or whatever he just won. He won a couple of things. But yeah, he's going to come across all 3 shows.
That is a very interesting physique. Now, I've been following Neckzilla. I didn't actually know his name. I just always known him as Neckzilla because of his Instagram presence, right? He's been a bit of a laughing stock. And I say this, I guess there's a lot of people that are now eating their own fucking words. And I'll stand by this and hold my hand up. I will be eating mine as well to an extent. Obviously, I wasn't as negative as some people, but as he was coming up, they were like, he's ugly. He's a mass monster. He's got no shape, no proportions, no structure. He's just a big ball of mass. Like, look at the lower body. He's just so out of proportion. He turned up to the amateur show. Everyone knew, like, there's a certain degree of open bodybuilder mass you need to be an open bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Look at Mike Quincy. He's a fucking open bodybuilder, man. He's got that fucking 130 kilo look on his rig. He's probably way heavier than that now, but there's a certain look to it. He's got that. He's an open bodybuilder. He's got that potential to have that mass. And you know what? All of us that maybe doubted him are now eating our words, because he actually looked a fucking lot more proportioned than people believed.
Mate,
But he also has and he got condition close.
Yeah.
I think an improvement. Definitely, I said this on the stories when he won the amateur show and got his card. I was like, we knew that was going to happen, but I want to see where his condition stands against the top guys. And it was, I was shocked. I think 99% of the people in the UK that have followed him were shocked as well, to be like, oh, okay, no, he's looking like a top Olympian guy now.
Yeah, but he's young, man. He's only in his early 20s. So he's still maturing.
Yeah.
So with more experience, once as we all know, and with seasoned competitors, each show you get better and better. You learn how to get your condition on point. You go through the prep, you get down to condition, you learn certain things. He's young, man. So you look where he is now, the mass he's got at his fucking age, and I'm fucking ballparking here, but I heard like 23, maybe 24.
He's young. He is young. I know he's young. His transformation with bodybuilding has been about 5 years, from 2018 to 2023, and he's gone from an average, like natural average Joe, to this in 5 years. For anyone listening, if you want to really weigh up, like if you're sat there as a young person who is generally heart dead set on getting to the Olympia, and that's your biggest goal in life, and there are people like that, I have no issue with having big goals. Chase after them. Go at it with every fucking ounce of passion you've got. But if in 5 years you don't see a fucking change like that, I think we need to have some good, honest reflection here. Realistically, are you going to be a top 5, top 10 guy? Because those guys have genetic gifts that, that just is what it is. It's not that, they've got something over you, right? So, we're going to moan about it. It just is the cards you get dealt.
Yeah.
They then apply all the correct proceedings of training appropriately, eating food, PEDs. They're going to get to the top. The cream is going to rise to the top, and that is just the game we play. So if you're seeing yourself and you're looking at your 3 and 5 year trajectory you've just made, and you're not seeing gains like that, I think maybe you could have a little honest reflection of yourself and be realistic. Because I don't think enough people are. I hear a lot of people say, yeah, I'm going to get to the Olympia. And out of the fraction of those people that say it, how many people actually do? It's like 0.01%. It's a very small amount.
But you hit on the head too. Like, as much as we say, genetics doesn't always have a big factor in bodybuilding, but it does. Some people are born with it. It's simple as that. And he's one of them. And even like Sam Sulik and some other people as well, they're just born athletes, and their body, like something with their muscle fibers, the way they respond to different compounds or different foods or different training stimulus, whatever it is, they wake up and they'll put on a kilo of muscle. Like I've put on, as we done my DEX scan the other day, it's taken me 3 years to put on 15 kilos of lean muscle mass.
Yeah.
Right. He looks like he done it by fucking eating a chicken on a fucking Sunday and put on 15 kilos. He's fucking ginormous.
But that's, what the funny thing is for people listening though, Shane, is that you don't have bad genetics. This is the thing. This is what, when we say genetics is, people play it as like this big bad card and they blame genetics. Well, it's a very important conversation to have, but we've also got to understand that there's sweet F all we can actually do about it. It's just what you got. And someone like yourself, Shane, you're saying about how much muscle you put on. That's not bad progression.
It takes. Yeah.
That's gnarly muscle growth. You've got a good potentiation for growth, but the difference between someone like you with good genetics and someone like him with top tier elite genetics is still such a big fucking country mile.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think, man. It really is. And genetics play up to every single part of your physiological process. There is an input from your genetic code that is dictating how your body operates and works. It is genetics. And if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. Some people do really there's a lot of good amateurs that find peace in knowing they're not going to be a pro, but they love competing and they love getting in gnarly condition and trying to improve themselves. So they just settle with peace on that aspect. I think a lot of people will either come to that realization, or they'll fall away from bodybuilding and be like, I could have done this. I could have been this guy. I could have got there and all this. But in reality, they couldn't. They just can't accept it.
I love that one. Oh, it's all politics. It's all political. That's why I didn't make it. Like, I've heard that one a few times. It's fucking all these excuses.
You can be a phenomenal looking freak and it still not be good enough to be a top tier bodybuilder.
Yeah.
The amount of pros that walk around with fucking hyper amounts of muscle that will never make it to the Olympia. It's ridiculous.
Well, Joey Andrews is a good example of that one. So he's got an incredible physique on him, right? Incredible. But he can't withstand doing the contest prep. When it comes to the last 4 weeks, he can't do it. Like, he only just made it to the state Grand Prix here and he couldn't make it to nationals. Now, why he put out for nationals, like, I don't know the guy personally. Was it because that he got beat by Matt O'Reilly in the Queensland and then they're going to come to the Queensland national show and go against Matthew Riley again? For me, that'd make me turn around and go that little bit harder for those 2-3 weeks between and bring the conditioning even more, where with him with a physique, has the genetics, could go a long way in this sport, but can't complete and finalize, execute it.
So that's the fucking probably one of the biggest probably takeaways from this podcast, what you just said right there, Shane. That although I've just said, genetics makes up basically the biggest part of are you going to make it to the Olympia? But that does not mean you can't have a successful career and make a shit ton of progress within amateur or pro bodybuilding by outworking your genetics. You will only ever get far. It's, genetics is setting your top ceiling. You will only ever get to here. But you can stop yourself here by saying, making excuses and, not chasing it and not giving it your all. But if you just apply that aggressive, neurotic mentality to chase it, you will outwork it to your fullest potential, wherever that is. He's just a prime example there of having the gift and not putting it into action. So although genetics makes up such a big part, if you don't do the work, it's not going to happen for you. Those elite Olympians are those with genetic gifts and the mindset and application to do this shit day in, day out, neurotically for the rest of their life. So that is a big part of it. So as an amateur, you don't know your genetic potential. We don't know our genetic potential when we start. You might be a freak. You're saying you want to get to the Olympia. You might be that guy. So don't go, oh, but I might not be. Go, I might be. So I'm going to do everything I need in my power that if I could be that guy, I've done everything possible to be that guy. And then the rest is up to, the powers that be. Mum and dad, that's the last piece of the puzzle. But do everything in your power to make sure that you go and you lay your head down at night at the end of your career and you go, I've given it everything I could. This is as far as I could have got with bodybuilding. I'm at peace with that. So for likes of Joshy there, will you have that peace and serenity at the end of it? Will you know that you could have done more? That would eat me up.
Yeah, that'd eat me up. That'd get to me bad. Like, I know, you got to have some self-reflection in this sport as well. You got to be able to look at yourself and look and give yourself that self-feedback. What can I potentially do? Do I put everything in? Do I, track day in, day out? Do I make sure I hit my fucking targets, my steps every day? Do I put my training? Do I train with intensity? Am I training, so on and so forth? Am I putting everything into it? I know what I do and how I do it. I know I'll never be a top tier Olympia bodybuilder. Plus, I'm fucking 40. I started too late, but it is what it is, right? But I still want to win a show one day. And I've still got that mentality that I want to win that. That's going to be my goal. So I'm going to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Even though I tell my wife I'm going to retire next year. The retirement never comes around because I fucking love this sport. I love how we do it. I just love the regimen. I love the structure in it, everything about it. But having that self-reflection, knowing that I'm never going to make that, but let's try and at least accomplish this and get what you said before, like up here, this is where my potential will be. I haven't hit that yet, and I want to hit that potential. And that, in my head, is going to be winning a show, whether it's here, whether it's in fucking UK or United States or wherever.
Exactly that, man. Exactly that. You can't leave stuff on the table because you just don't know. You don't know at the end of the day. But like I said originally, if you spend 5 years committed to bodybuilding, you do have a pretty good gauge. And anyone with experience within our sport would have a pretty good gauge to know where you're heading, where you're traveling, and where you could go. It just comes down to you to do the work. You have to put in the work to keep forwards. Yeah. The genetics question, I think we've gone into such a good topic here, though, because it makes up even down to like your category, like where you suit. I know we've been speaking about like the top end of like Olympia and all of this, but genetics can massively differentiate like where your physique is going to lie structurally, bone shape, bone structure, clavicular width, hip to waist ratio. There's lots of different things that would potentially bracket you off into a certain category, and that can really be a problem for a lot of people that have a goal of being, say, when I first started bodybuilding, do you think I wanted to be a classic competitor? Fuck no. I wasn't like the new kids coming up. I wanted to be a freak. Always have, always will want to be a freak. But do I have the potential to be a freak? Well, maybe, but what's it going to cost me? I've already looked at the realization of what I've done to get to where I am, and I'm not exactly a mass monster by any means, but I always talk honestly and openly about what I've done in my career, and it's been a long time enhanced to work up to these top dosages. So please do not ever take what I say here on this podcast as what you should do, but just as a real life application of what I have done. I've escalated my cycle. The top end for a good chunk of time there was way above 2 grams, 2.5 to 2.7 was my top limit. So I've pushed quite hard to the extremity risk reward of, per week, that is, of what you can do within my own health parameters, knowing that blood work echoes were all in good at that time. And I only got this far in my muscle mass. So with more time eating more food and training and continuing on that escalation, would I eventually become a mass monster? Yes, probably. But what would it cost me in health, time, and everything else to get there? Because again, my genetic potential to be a mass monster isn't there. Because if it was, I would have taken 400, 600 milligrams of gear and I would have started blowing up. I would have started to look like a freak.
Well, it comes back to that risk versus reward, doesn't it? And we all know that, like, if we take that extended risk and really put ourselves out there, we are shortening our lives. That's fact.
Mm-hmm.
So by taking that extra risk, and like you said, will you become a mass monster? You had to evaluate that at well, at least you're doing it now. And excuse me, at your age, you're actually doing it at a smarter time in your life where, I know guys haven't made that decision until their late 30s and they've been blasting gear for fucking years and still haven't made the necessary improvements to become this top tier bodybuilder. But, the damage is done, because like even before, like I've come across the Flex Assessor coach from you guys, like even for when we're tracking our metrics and that, when it comes to blood work, like I had blood work done, I think like once before I come over to you guys. There was no tracking of blood glucose. There was no tracking of blood pressure. There was none of this. All right. So I think that comes down to making sure those metrics are on track. Like, so yes, for taking that risk versus reward. But when we say, I say this, you're not going to see it, but, fucking quotation marks up here is fucking, is that we try and take a safer approach to it, so to speak. What we do now. I mean, when I say safer, it's about monitoring. So whenever those metrics are getting out of whack, well, then we pull shit back and making sure that longevity is always on the forefront.
100%, man. Exactly that. And, in order to really push the parameters of enhancement in a way that is not safe by any means, but in a way that is controlled, monitored, and safer, or at least mitigating as much risk as possible, you got to track the shit out of everything. And you've got to be getting your blood work done as and when it is necessary on the timeline. You got to get your echocardiograms done so that you can then give yourself the best fighting chance again to know how far you can push. If you don't know and you're just going to go, I've had clients before just be like, oh, I'm just going to use minimal gear for the rest of my life and I'm going to blow up. And I'm going, yeah, cool. I have no issue with people not wanting to use loads of drugs. Drugs are not the answer. They enhance training, nutrition, all the parameters that drive physique development. They enhance that aspect. Cool. But if you're someone who wants to chase the potential of what you could be, that is going to involve pushing your PEDs as an enhanced user. Now, if you don't push up, you could be leaving progress on the table. Now, for me, again, like I've got clients that can't use more than 800 milligrams of potential PEDs without seeing elevations on stress markers. So for them, their ceiling is very low. But for me, with appropriate health checks over time, I didn't start at over 2 grams of gear. I started on very low, a couple of hundred milligrams. And over 6 years, it's eventually got to the point where by doing these health checks, I've got up to this very intermediate expert level cycle design. But only with the green tick that I was healthy on the way up to that point. And for me, I got that negative feedback about, somewhere in this 2.5 to 2.7 region. So you get that information. Now, if I wanted to carry on chasing this maximally, I've now got concrete information because of the tracking. I can now say, cool, if I go past 2.5, everything starts to look a little west and starts to go a bit downhill. So I would always operate my growth phases and my cycle escalations in between point A and point B, this top point. And that would give me an essence of trackable data that supports that I should, if I keep doing the same things I am and keep supporting health with supplementation, holistic inputs of NEAT expenditure, cardio, and everything else, in theory, I should stay healthy. It doesn't mean it's black and white that you will for the rest of your life and you don't need to check, but it gives us a good ground to work off to say, hey, past data says you're good between this range. We always operate here. Things should stay consistent without any external inputs.
That's where, like using myself as an example, and when we're tracking this data, we have that data behind that. We know how much I can push, and we also know, like for me, for testosterone, I can push excess of 600 megs a week on that with no side effects and have no gyno coming effects, no pimples still staying in track, blood pressure stays on. Well, my blood pressure is always a little bit higher, but there's other factors behind that. But when I say high, it's usually around the 130 mark. Even though the bell curve in fucking Australia, the normality of fucking blood pressure is 140 over 90 is now classified as fucking normal. But we know, again, we've got a controlled environment that we know what I can push because we've collected that data. We know what we've done previously. We've done the blood work. We've done the heart checks. We know what we can push and we know what we can safely do. Again, like you said before, with a controlled, safer manner.
Exactly. And the point of safer just comes from being in the know. And if you're not in the know, you're not running things as in an appropriately safer environment. And I always caveat here, safer. We never say the word safe with PEDs because there's nothing. taking risk, so we just try and minimize it as much as possible. But yeah,
I did like the word you used before when you said controlled. I like that. Oh, I've never used that word. It is controlled. It is that controlled environment, isn't it? Because we are. This is what we're doing. This is when we're doing it, and this is when we're actually monitoring. This is what we're going to do for make sure the data collecting to make sure that things are still operating as per.
Exactly, and that's the reality of top tier bodybuilding in that top echelon of elite athletes. It's about cycling stress. It's about controlling the stress, understanding when we can apply more stress, when the body's going to take more stress, when to reduce that stress, and navigating that minefield as best as we can, because it's a big problem, man. I think the health check side of things, any amateur or young guy or girl coming into this sport, please do not think you can just get away with starting on low dosages and not doing blood work and echoes. You'd be very surprised to know that there are top elite bodybuilders in the pro ranks who use far less gear than you think they do, and their blood work absolutely shit. I say that because I've seen it. I've seen it in the flesh on blood work from people that are absolute mass monsters using next to no gear, and they still have consequences. So you might be that guy. And I'd say there's an anecdotal reflection here. It's not direct correlation, but typically the more you respond to PDs, I see an anecdote that there are more consequences to your health. So again, that can draw back on the opposite to me. I've taken 2.7 grams of gear for months at a time there in my top peak blast. I don't look like a bodybuilder who's using close to 3 grams of gear a week. You'd expect that to be a freak. So there you go. Perfect example there that I'm not that guy, even though I'm using this gear under the parameters of what was tolerable at the time, but I didn't get that response. But I also didn't have the consequence to health that I've seen in people using 400 or 600. So there seems to be a relationship that is somewhat correlative, but not exact. So yeah, check from day one. Do not think you can get away with it just because you're on low.
And well, we've gone off on a tangent here. I think I'm going to wrap this one up, guys, because by the time we get into this, actually, what the subject of this fucking podcast is going to be, it's going to be an hour and a half podcast. I know you guys don't like them like any longer than 40 minutes, but I think let's wrap this one up. We'll do this fucking topic next week, mate. But my conclusion is for next year, like the 3 seasons, I reckon there's going to be a positive. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the B season. But I think we'll see, and I will see a lot more people going overseas for the last end of the year. And I'm putting my hands up that I'm probably going to be one of them. So I think it's going to be positive. And then there's more shows, getting the pros coming across to do some guest posing too. It's just I think it's all a positive for the sport here in Australia at the moment.
That the big thing there was for Australia as well, because the rest of the world, America, the UK, the big hubs of bodybuilding, I'd say stand for like Dubai, UK, America, some I'd say Asia, like maybe Korea. Korea's got quite a big influence of bodybuilding that's coming up, making leaps forward. All of these different places around the world, of these hubs of bodybuilding, are making moves, and they are elevating. Australia for a while, because again, so isolated, limited shows, limited ability to travel in and out and get to places, it meant it was quite cornered, and we're starting to see it open up now to the rest of the world. And Australia's bodybuilding, I've seen it firsthand, it's top tier. The athletes, what you put into the shows, it is top tier. And now that that's being seen and people are starting to see it, and Aussies are getting across the world to compete now, it's only going to put Oz on the map more so for being the top runners, like the big 3 main climate people in the world, US, China, Russia, whatever it is. We're now seeing that in bodybuilding. It's going to move away from UK and America, and Oz is going to put its name on the map. I truly believe that. And this is the start of it.
Mate, it's the start, and I just can't wait till they bring a pro show back here. If they get the Arnolds back here, fuck, I'm in there. I'm fucking competing. That's always been my bucket list, has been an Arnold show. Because it was that big, huge sport festival here. It was fucking, it was incredible.
UK Arnold, come across, international compete, and do the Arnold. Boom.
You've done 2 fuck, there we go, team. You've heard it here first. Fucking, we're doing Arnold's UK. There it is.
All right.
I'll ask the wife later.
The permission from the boss.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us at the moment. Remember, we are taking, but you're taking clients at the moment, aren't you?
Flex Success is taking clients. Yes, I do have a wait list. So sadly, me and Dean both have wait lists, but Flex Success is all still, compiling up clients coming on board. We still have Gen Pop coach, so if you are in the Gen Pop space, don't feel like Flex Success is not something you can, our service you can use. We do have a Gen Pop coach specific for that. But yeah, sadly for me, I am chocker at the moment, man. So if people are wanting to be coached by me, it will be on a wait list until I have availability, sadly.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Have you found your coach yet? Your new flex coach? Don't have to say names. Don't do anything like that. Have you found someone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, look, I guess there's no secret in that aspect because, of course, Flex isn't still advertising for for applications. So obviously, that has been sorted. It is all squashed. It is all settled. It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. It's to be announced at some point in the new year, I'd imagine. But we'll wait and see, bro. But it's very positive. It's good, yeah.
Good, good. Well, there you go, guys. You heard there's another coach coming on. So yes, they've got a wait list at the moment. There's another coach coming team. So get on the Flex Success website, get your inquiries in. Same as me, guys. On my Instagram, there's an application there to fill out if you are looking to do any physique competing. Jump on. Even got any questions for us, guys? Jump on, DM us, have a chat. Both do consults. More happy to have a consult. Go through whatever questions you want. Apparently, George is a big fan of doing 2.5 hour consults.
It happens from time to time, man. It happens, all right.
All right, guys. If you please like, comment, or share this, we will appreciate it. It's the only way we get this out about to everyone. And we're here to talk shit. We have talked a bit of shit this fucking episode. Hope you do enjoy it. But until next time, guys. Peace.